Hello there guys, today I am going to try to tackle another code fight. This is actually the first of the linked list interview practice questions. And I did spend about 30 seconds reading over it before I started recording. And overall I think it seems fairly simple, as long as you're somewhat familiar with the linked list. So I'm going to go through and see how quickly I can solve this, and then I hopefully will be able to talk about maybe ways to improve it, and maybe we'll even look at some of the other solutions that people made. So ultimately, the big thing is we need to do this in big O of n time, which means we can only iterate through the list a single time. It also says try not to use additional space, so we need to have a constant space usage. So in my mind, immediately what I think about is with the linked list, and if you look over here on the right, you can kind of see what we have to work with. So the value is stored in X, and we don't have a pointer back to the previous node, which means that we are going to have to keep track of that somehow. So we're going to always need to know the one before, the current one, and a next one if there is. Now we have the next one because the current node has this next pointer. And in JavaScript or whatever language you're using, this next pointer will be pointing to something different. In this case, it's a function object, because you can see that our list node is declared a function. So as we go forward, we really only need to keep track of the previous. Alright, so let's just take a look at what that looks like from a coding standpoint. So I'm going to get rid of the generated code that's here. It looks like they're expecting L to be returned. It's already got that filled out for me. And I'm not going to try to do this in a low amount of characters. And actually, I'm a little bit curious, because normally when I do these, they'll have a character count here. But I've noticed a few things have actually been updated recently on the site. So, since that everything has actually been updated, what we do see is that maybe character count doesn't matter as much anymore. Alright, so how do we loop through a linked list of nodes? The best way that I can think of to do this is we basically need to start in a new variable that is current, and we are going to set that to L, because we're going to start at the very front of the list. We are again then going to have a previous, and we are going to set that to null to begin with, or undefined would work just as well. And that's all that we really need right now. So if we did while current is not equal to null, and you know it's null because you can see that they're using null there versus undefined. So we know for sure that once our current becomes null, we're not going to do anything further. So what do we do? Now we've started. We have not incremented at all. So we have started this list with a while current does not equal null. So we have the current one. Our previous one is null. What options do we have here? So the first time through, we actually could have a value where current needs to be removed. If this becomes the case, what we need to do is we need to remove current, basically unlink current, and set L equal to the next node. The other option we have is that we're through here an additional time. So there's two cases. One of them is if previous is null, this is our first time through. Else, this is additional times through. And I'm writing this as we go, so I may come back and get rid of or change this, but I think it's helpful to kind of talk through my theory of how to actually do this problem. So on the first time through, we don't have a previous node. All we really have is the current node. So if current.value is equal to k, basically what we need to do in this case is remove current from the list, and the way to do that is to take current.next and assign that to L. And then what we're going to do to increment is we are going to set current equal to, let me think about that a second. So because now we've removed current, we need to actually set current back to L, right? Because we basically have removed it, and now we need to reset it back to the front of the list, and then our previous would remain null. And then previous would remain null in this case. Now, if the current value is not equal to k in this example, what we are going to want to do in this very particular scenario is basically we're going to want to set current equal to current.next, and we are going to want to set previous. Actually, I'm doing that in the wrong order. So the first thing we want to do is say previous. That way we now have a parent node. So the first time through, our two options are we move forward one. Excuse me, sorry about that. Or we actually we move forward one if the current value does not equal k. If it does equal k, what we're going to do is we're just going to remove it from the front of the list, keep previous as null, reset the list to be the next node in current. Now additional times through are going to have a little bit different logic, and I'm already thinking of ways that I can clean up this code. But additional ways times through, all we really need to do in this scenario is see if current.value, and okay, so now if this is true in this scenario, we need to take the previous pointer, set its next value. So let me show you what that means here. So so we're going to set previous equal to current.next. No, actually, that is completely wrong. I meant previous.next is equal to current.next. So now we're basically skipping over current in this scenario. But we also need to change current to be, so previous.next equal to that. We're going to set the, we need to now move the previous one forward. So actually the previous one would stay the same in this scenario, because we're now basically just removing the middle one. We're setting the current.next, and then we are going to set current equal to current.next. So then current completely gets skipped. Alright, and then the else case here is we keep everything like it is, and we set previous equal to current, and we set current equal to current.next. And then we'll loop through here. And I'm sure there's some errors in this code, so let's just talk through it again. We've got two temporary variables. We're iterating through the list a single time, so we have solved the big O of n time. We've used a little bit of constant space here with two variables, very, very minimal. We are checking the two cases that happen at the beginning. The case one is that previous is null, and if that is a case, that means it's our first time through. Or I guess the other side of that would be that this might be an additional time through, but all things from the beginning of the list have been removed and previous has not been assigned anything valid. So if we are in here, we check whatever the current value is. So let's look at the logic here, and we look at the logic here. So the big difference is that we're messing with L versus previous. So there's probably ways to actually simplify this down into not having this check here. But for simplicity's sake, let's keep it that way, and let's run the test to see how good or bad that we actually do. Wow, so the first time through, we have passed the sample test. And I still see no like character count here. So maybe that isn't as important. And if we hit the submit button, we will get to see if we've actually passed all the tests. I'm just going through again to kind of see. So if you look at this else state here, this is identical to this, right? Is there a way for me to get this to always fire? You know, if we ran a continue here and a continue here, we could actually we run that here and we run this here, and then what we do is we pull this code out of here and we stick that below this point, and we let's fix the spacing a little bit. We'll get rid of that and we'll get rid of this. And what that does is basically that's the default case, and we're now handling and actually we don't really need this to be an else in this scenario. What we could do is actually refactor this so that if previous is, so really let's think about this a second. So one thing we could do is, if you notice, we've got if current.value is equal to k, current.value is equal to k. This is the main thing here, and really the split is on this. So what we absolutely could do here is we can get if previous is equal to null. And this is a lot of how I code in real life, to be honest with you. And then this can actually go inside this cell. I write the code the long way the first time around, and then I come through and I clean up a lot of stuff. So we can get rid of this. This here, for example, I only need these two lines, and that can go in here. And then we got a lot of cleaning up to do here. We can get rid of all of that. And let's just check my brackets. I feel like I'm off a bracket here. I am, because that while should not be closed until here. So I think that's got to go away. And this needs to be unindented. 1. So look how much cleaner that code is if I didn't break it. It's very possible that I broke it. And actually we can get rid of the continue here as well too. And just add an else and make this here. So that's already a lot cleaner. Let's see how much I broke here. Nope, we kept it all in good tact. So we've simplified it so that we're not repeating a lot of code anymore. The two cases that we have for if the current one is a match, we either at the beginning or we're somewhere else. Otherwise, we just move forward like normal. So this has simplified it a lot, and I am feeling good to hit the submit button. So let's see what this does. We got it. Alright, so the one thing I noticed is there is no character count here. Very, very cool. We've done our first task. We got 1,000 gold. And I really hope this, guys, has helped you. Sorry about that. I really hope this has helped you. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I absolutely love doing code fights. And it allows me to keep thinking about programming in a way that I normally don't get to think about on a day-to-day basis. So for those of you that are new to programming, or those of you that are just wanting to stay up to date and skilled in how you actually are performing as a programmer, CODEFIGHTS, I couldn't recommend it enough, and it's something that I do that's actually kind of relaxing, which is funny enough. Alright guys, until next time, peace out.